Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Fire Me channel. Now today we're going to be talking about Tesla and how it is not going to revolutionize the world. Now I'm probably going to get a lot of angry comments here, thumbs down, etc. But let me explain myself. So first off, Tesla is a massive polluter. Now first you're going to be like, what do you mean a massive polluter? This is an electric vehicle, it should be great for the environment. Well, the reality is massive mines are required to mine rare earth minerals. Those minerals are needed to create the batteries. Batteries are incredibly expensive, big, and afterwards when they're shot, you have to get rid of them and recycle them. So that's just one of the components that makes Tesla a polluter. Another component is all the plastics. So that is still being created by oil and gas byproducts. Tesla is full of plastics, everything from the bumpers to the paint to the dash. That's not going away anytime soon. And last but not least is the power that Tesla consumes. Now, in terms of power, you might say, well, they could get solar or wind or what have you and be totally green. But if you want to go down that road, let's take a look at solar power. So whether it's windmills, a windmill actually takes about as much energy to produce a windmill as that windmill will create an electricity over its life cycle. Solar panels are in a similar situation where you need massive amounts of solar panels to create any amount of electricity. Those solar panels take a ton of energy to manufacture, and really at the end of the day you're not really further ahead. And then last but not least, the vast majority of power created today is not through hydro, wind, or solar. It's actually through natural gas or coal-fired power plants. In a lot of cases there's what they call cogen, which is partially natural gas and partially some other fuel source. So you're still burning all this fossil fuel and energy to get the electricity, whether you go through the nat gas power plant or the solar route. It still takes a massive amount of carbon somewhere along that footprint to actually generate electricity to charge these cars. Now, on the plus side of all that, you do have pollution displacement. So if, say, a city like Los Angeles that has a serious smog problem based on their geography, with the mountain range in behind Los Angeles, it kind of keeps all the smog into the city and it doesn't blow away very easily. If you had something like an EV or a Tesla and mandated it where everyone that was driving had to drive an electric vehicle, what you essentially would do would be you'd be displacing that carbon to another area, usually a rural area, where that it might have a larger biomass that can actually absorb some of that carbon and take it out of the atmosphere. And at the end you'd be left with a much cleaner air in some of these big major cities in the US. So there is some upside to these EVs, but we shouldn't be thinking that they're the end-all be-all solution to all of our pollution problems. Now, one of the other things too I was going to mention with Tesla in particular, they really aren't gaining a lot of market share. So these electric vehicles have increased a little bit, but they're not taking out mainstream SUVs, pickups, bigger cars. They're actually consuming some of these smaller, more environmentally friendly cars market share. So I think it was the Prius, if I'm not mistaken, that for every % of market share that they lose, Tesla is actually picking that up. So these aren't really catching on mainstream all across the world. You do see some here and there, but they're not replacing the average person's daily driver. Now, the one other aspect that I was going to mention, and this is probably the main driver why Tesla and electric vehicles in general will never take over the North American market, and that is because of winter. So in Canada, northern US, northeastern seaboard, the Midwest, there is a massive amount of time during the year, a solid 6 some places 8 months of incredibly cold temperatures that are not conducive to batteries or electric vehicles in general. And what this really means is you can't use electric vehicles everywhere all the time. So they really are going to be confined to some of these major cities, specifically on the West Coast, maybe the Southeast in the US, in terms of the North American market, where the temperatures don't get below freezing. You have an unusually high number of sunny days where the weather's always warm, the sun's always shining. You can charge these things to some degree with solar power. But in terms of these northern climates, they're just not practical. Now, some people might say, well, I can take it from my garage in the winter to my parkade at work. That's really just outside for the half an hour, 45 minutes I'm commuting. But that is not everyone. In fact, I was just noticing down my own street the other day how many vehicles actually are parked in the driveway on the road. People use their garages for all kinds of stuff, usually storing kids' bikes and all the rest of it. So there really isn't a good solution for these northern climates in terms of electric vehicles. The winter is just too hard on batteries. So I know where I live, it's incredibly cold for about 5 to 6 months a year. And people do own there is the odd Tesla out there. People do own the odd electric vehicle. However, you only see them in the summer. You never see these people driving them once winter hits and the snow falls. So that is probably the main reason why Tesla will never take over the world, and electric vehicle market will remain relatively small. The other aspect as well too is the cost. Obviously, the average person cannot afford a very expensive vehicle. You know, if you're driving a Porsche or Ferrari, sure, you can buy a Tesla, but if you're someone that, you know, a Honda Civic's a stretch, these Teslas are way out of your reach. And if anything ever goes wrong, that's a massive bill. We've got to replace the batteries, another huge bill. The batteries are probably one of the major, most expensive components of the vehicle in general. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about this, and what your guys' thoughts are on electric vehicles in general. So anyways, we'll see you guys in the next one.